Hi, this is Kelley Hatlee with Macoupin County Indivisible, and I'm joined today by Holly Kim, a candidate for Comptroller for the state of Illinois. Holly, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And I see you're wearing your green. We have St. Patrick's Day right around the corner, so I see you've got an early start. And I've
Yeah,
got
this
my
way
green.
nobody can pinch me.
Yeah, and I've got my green right there.
Ah, festive.
So thanks for stopping in today. Um, One of the things that we are really promoting here in Macoupin County and all over really is to get people to run for office that consider every office, everything from school board, library board, these local offices to state and national. So, how did you get your start in politics, and what kind of advice would you give to somebody who's considering running for office?
Sure, that's great. So, hi everyone. I'm Holly Kim. I'm currently a candidate for Illinois State Controller, and I would say I first cut my teeth back in 2013 when I ran for the village board. And I honestly ran because I wanted pet chickens. It was like a whole thing. I was one of those, I believe it was like a decade ago, where all these granola moms wanted organic, backyard chickens, eggs from their backyard. And I remember presenting in front of the village board, and I had an easel with these coroplast boards that just said clucks and decibels, poop and grams, zoonotic diseases. If anything, it looked like a case to ban dogs and cats, and that chickens were awesome. But the board voted it down, and I remember thinking, and I said to my friend, I said, this is a numbers game. And if you and I are up on that board, not only can we get chickens, we can fill those empty storefronts, we can get better restaurants in here. That no wonder there's only pizza and Subway in town, right? Like we need some fresh blood up on that board. And so we ran for office, me and my friends. And I got in as village trustee, and my friend did not make it, but they were appointed to plan commission, which really taught me that if you run a good race and your heart's in the right place, like you could get appointed in. And I think it's really important that we fill those local government benches, because I will tell you that on the other side in the Republican Party, they fill all these local school boards, park boards, village boards, and then when they need people to like move up to state reps, stuff like that, that's where they pull from, right? County board, they have like a bench full of warmers that are ready to go, and we need to do that as Democrats as well. So I first cut my teeth there, and then I ran for mayor. I was at the township, and now I've been county treasurer for 2 terms. I'm also the vice chair of my township Democratic Party, and I'm the vice chair of the Lake County Democratic Party as well. So in some ways, they unlocked this beast that's out there, trying to flip districts, and now I'm running other candidates. And someday I'll write a book called "They Should Have Just Given Me My Chickens."
I love it. That's one of the most unique stories of how anybody ever got into politics. So we can thank the chickens for Holly Kim as candidate, right? Yeah, and I love that that was something that you felt passionate about because I really love, the backyard chickens and the gardening and kind of the whole homesteading thing. And there is definitely you can tell that homegrown backyard eggs are you can just tell they have more nutrients in them. They look different, they taste better, they're just richer. So yeah,
Oh
there's
yeah,
not
the orange
there.
yolks.
Yeah.
It's so different from the ones at the store that are pale yellow.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and you can just tell. So if you are what you eat, just think about how much more nutritious the homegrown eggs are.
Mhm.
Um, so can you t so you're running for control? Did I say that right? Comptroller or controller? Is it kind of interchangeable?
So you can say it any way you want. When
Okay.
I asked Susanna Mendoza, the current Illinois State Controller, how she says it, she said controller. And
Okay.
now that I know that, I can never say it any other way, because now it's like seared into my brain, right? That it's controller to me. But any other way everyone else says it, it's fine.
So can you tell voters like myself who may not know what does the state controller do?
Yeah, so currently I am the county treasurer in Lake County, Illinois. It's the third largest county where I manage billions of dollars of public funds. So what I like to say is, out of the 4 people running for this position, I'm the only one who's already doing the controller job. All the checks go out with my signature on it. So here's what I do as county treasurer. I handle all the money coming in and the investing of it and the money going out. Now, at the state, it's so big, you have one person for the money coming in and the investing. That's the Illinois treasurer, Michael Ferricks, and one person for the money going out. That is the controller, Susanna Mendoza. That's what I'm running for, this one right here.
So tell us the difference. Yeah, I guess that's kind of can you expand a little bit more, like the controller versus the treasurer, and why these different roles matter? Kind of like, what is the so what factor? How does the controller impact my life?
So the power of the controller's office is really the hand on the spigot, right? And how it turns
Yeah.
for the flow of water. And I think we all witnessed that during the time when Rauner was governor and had his hand-chosen controller, Leslie Munger. So there were no budgets passed, no bills were being paid, no reimbursements of services provided. And I remember during that time, I sat on the board of a senior care nonprofit where we send home care workers to seniors' homes to bathe them and feed them, and we were not being reimbursed. And I remember at the board meeting saying, guys, we only have 2 months left of operating budget. Like, what are we going to do? And how is this okay? And how is this humane, right? Because when we run out of these 2 months of cash flow, does that mean we stop sending people to seniors' homes, in which case people will die? Or do we keep going and then just not have money? Like, how are we supposed to do this? And so we had to beg the controller's office and honk the horn. And so having that background of that knowledge of really the severity of how powerful this position is, it literally will, hang people's lives in like that imbalance during hard times of like I know that with 3 more years of Trump in office, there's going to be federal grant cuts. And so it matters that whoever's in there has a heart to reimburse and continue that cash flow going for our nonprofits and even our rural health centers. Those are going to be the most affected. And not only having the experience of sitting on that board, but I also was a mom in college that used WIC, Medicaid, the Head Start program, and many government supports. And I know what it's like to go to a doctor's office that is dependent on reimbursement from the Illinois Controller's office.
Thank you for explaining that, because I didn't even really make that connection, to be honest with you. There's a lot more to the job than just staring at a spreadsheet all day and making the balance sheet bounce. But yeah, I get it that yeah. So speaking of, you mentioned earlier that you're the only candidate that really brings hands-on experience to this role. So speaking of your experience, I've heard you mention that, current controller Susanna Mendoza, which you've mentioned her, has endorsed you and referred to you as her work mentor. Can you tell us about your relationship and what you have learned from her, like how you can apply that to the job?
Yeah, so about 7 years ago, let's see, I've been doing this almost 8 years as county treasurer. I reached out to her and was like, I don't really have like a mentor, in this industry. Would you mind to be mine? And she said, okay. I just reached out and asked. And we've had lunches. She'll tell me about things in her office. I was appointed to her Bank on Commission against predatory lending. And I also have talked to her about things in my office, things I would like to modernize. And then I ended up doing it. So it's really interesting because there aren't too many like people I could ask for that kind of like mentorship, right? Because it's like we have a whole network, a county treasurers association, and in Macoupin, I believe it's Nikki Loam. Is it Nikki out there, Nikki Loman? In Macoupin County Treasurer, but we have a whole network of county treasurers that we're all friends with and we're all peers. But there's no one that was like higher that I could ask. That's also like a woman in finance, so that I could ask for like sometimes the above the umbrella perspective of dealing with not only other egos in government, but things I should be doing in my office and like comparing notes. And one of the greatest things I would say that the current controller, Susanna Mendoza, has taught me is to stand up for myself and my office. She goes, at the end of the day, whose name is it on that door? Right. And if anyone asks you, even if they're trying to bully you to do something that doesn't sit right in your heart, just point to that and say, whose name is it on the door? And it's yours, Holly. So at the end of the day, you decide what happens in your office. I took that to heart. I pushed back a lot, where it made sense and stood up for my office and my staff.
That is something that, as I get more involved with organizing and politics and things, that's something that I've noticed is women involved in government and politics, they do a much better job than men at mentoring one another. It seems like every woman who's involved in government and politics has like a group, and there's even organizations that are really aimed at women mentoring women. And I think that I would like to see men do a better job of that, because I think we kind of tend to try to go it alone on our own. And I think it's really awesome that there are women mentoring women. So I'd love to see that. I've said for years I wish women ran the world, because things would be so much better. We probably wouldn't have any more wars. I'm ready to hand it over. Um,
No lies detected. No lies detected.
yeah. So what sets you apart from the other candidates? You've mentioned your experience, but what else sets you apart?
So I think it's my background of coming from extreme hardship. Again, like I had told my parents when I was in college that I was unexpectedly pregnant, and I thought I was doing the responsible thing. And they firmly kicked me out of the house. I had to work full time, go to school part time while juggling a kid. I signed up for WIC, Medicaid, Head Start, LIHEAP, EITC. I used everything I possibly could so I could keep going to school. And sometimes it was that one Saturday class, but it took 8.5 years and I crawled across that finish line holding that piece of paper and it happened. Now during that time, when it rains, it pours. And I had a relative who took advantage of that situation and stole my identity, absolutely trashed my credit to the ground. And so I do come before all of you as someone who 23 years later has great credit, is in charge of billions of dollars. All checks go out with my name on it. I've done over 100 financial literacy sessions out of this office, which it's never done before, but to protect other people from scams, how to rebuild their credit, how to buy, homes and all sorts of things, because we weren't taught financial literacy when I was a kid. And you will find no fiercer protector for you, your family, and your money in the way that I wish someone would have done for me back then. And I think that's a huge difference. It's somebody who comes to this not only being able to do the job on day one, but has that heart and the background, lens to come with it.
Yeah, those kind of experiences in your life teach you to be resourceful and to find a way. They say where there's a will, there's a way. And when you're in positions like that, as I have been to, yeah, you learn how to figure stuff out and you learn how to just make it happen against all odds. So I would feel much more comfortable with somebody like that in office than somebody who's just been handed a silver spoon and had the easy path, their entire life. They've never maybe really been challenged seriously. So that's
Mhm.
awesome. Um, so I will tell you something that I've noticed that's different about you is so I follow your social media and I've met you. We've met before. You are extremely relatable and I love that. And you mentioned the chickens and things, but you have a lot more than chickens is the homesteading. And I'm also into gardening and chickens and I think you have goats. Tell us a little bit more about that. I think that's real something that about you that is unique among not just the controllers, but maybe all candidates.
It's true. I guess out of all the candidates, I might be the only one that has goats and chickens. So I think the chickens were the gateway, the gateway animal. And then after that, I started looking into, well, I got eggs. What about milk? And I don't have enough room for a cow, but maybe a goat or some goats. And I was in a Facebook goat group, and one day I said to my husband, I go, "Hey, I bought something on Facebook, and can we go pick it up with the minivan?" And he's like, "What is it?" I go, "It's a goat." And so we're driving up there and we're pulling into the driveway. And it's funny because I think that was the moment that it hit me that we're getting a goat. And I said to my husband, I go, where am I going to put this goat? And I go, babe, why didn't you stop me? And he goes, you're not going to listen to me. He's like, you're going to do what you want to do. And so it's funny. I have a friend who owns a farm like a mile from my house that has
Mhm.
mini goats, mini cows, sheep. And so I board my goat over there. But that's how I ended up getting a goat. And now I have three miniature goats, and they're smaller than my dog.
Yeah. One of the things that I kind of love about the whole backyard homesteading, gardening, and things like that is there's a lot more to it to do it right because you have to plan ahead, thinking, if you preserve your vegetables and things like that too, you kind of have to think from the beginning to the end and plan things out and where are things going to go and whether you rotate things in and out because there are some plants that are like complementary to others and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. But yeah, I think it's actually really cool that you do that. So um,
It keeps you grounded. Funny story. My when we first started on this race and we were going to Southern Illinois and I packed all these mason jars into the back of the trunk and my campaign manager was like, "What is that?" And I go, "It's homemade jam that I made from Concord grapes that I grew in my own yard." And I was like, "You know what? If they chose Tim Walz for vice president on a zucchini basket, then this will be my lucky charm."
there you go.
And it was. It was.
What is your favorite thing that grow yourself or can or whatever? What is your favorite thing?
Nothing can replace a vine ripened tomato.
Yeah.
I think that's all across the board. I think everyone would agree on that one, right? The ones
Oh
at the
yeah.
grocery store just will not do.
Hmm. Yeah, and I love a garden tomato with a little bit of salt and pepper on it. Yeah, love it. I could just
Yes.
you could just eat one of those big garden tomatoes as a meal by itself. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Soon. It'll be back soon, everybody, tomato season.
yeah, it's about time to start. Yes, it's
Start
going
the
to be time to
seeds.
get them in the ground soon. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So so we've talked about how the controller can impact our everyday lives. So picture yourself in office. What are your top three priorities?
Sure. So, number one, there's nothing wrong with wanting to do the job. Like I'll tell you, over at County Treasurer's office where I'm at right now, the first thing I did when I got in was process map to see where there's duplication, inefficiency, what I could cut from the office, in terms of like subscriptions and things like that. And I will tell you, just in doing that, this office has some processes that used to take 6 months, and now it's 48 hours turnaround time. I was able to invest better so that I was able to give 200% returns compared to like the last treasurer. And to the point where I was able to give $6 million back to my schools, my parks, my library. And it's pretty unheard of that government give money back. So what I'm going to do is do the same process mapping at the controller's office, see what I can digitize so staff can work from home. And I do think we're in a day and an age where we have to beef up cybersecurity every single year. This is an office that's in charge of billions of dollars, and millions of checks go out. And checks are the number one financial scam out there, where they acid wash the to line and fill it with a different name. Those get caught all the time. Number two, um, this office is known across the nation for its prevailing wage department. And Susanna Mendoza was like, Holly, day one, you guys signed that executive order protecting prevailing wage. I would say that we need to actually expand that department. There's two people for the whole state. And with all these data centers popping up and, possible violations in prevailing wage, we need way more people to be proactive. Now, the third thing is I'm a huge privacy rights advocate that follows the ACLU. And back when I was a village trustee, I made them follow every single rule so that we weren't violating our residents' privacy. If you scan it and there's no warrant, you got to let the data go. And we're not going to share it with a national database, because what I don't want is all our peaceful residents who did nothing wrong to have a national database of where they've been with their car. And that's just not right. And so this office of controller is in charge of 100,000 pensioners data, 60,000 plus staff of the state of Illinois. And anytime you or I filed taxes with the state and received a refund, like all that info is there. And so it matters that we have a privacy rights advocate at the wheel.
So I think we'll stop here because I know that you have another interview right after this one, and we're getting close to that time. So I don't want to make you late for that one. So I want to thank you. Appreciate this conversation. It's always a good conversation with you. And yeah, thanks for taking some time out and stopping by. Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me. And if I could quickly say, we are a grassroots campaign that has not taken any special interest money, and we are reliant entirely on our network of volunteers across the state of Illinois. Please visit voteforhollykim.com to sign up to volunteer or for our newsletter or to chip in a small donation. And you can learn all about me or ask any questions that you want to ask. Thanks for having me today.
Awesome. Thank you, Holly. Appreciate it.
Okay.